We keep coming with some real fly. I just wanna know if you can feel my. I keep coming with some real fly. Don't tripping on in the shade. I keep coming with some real fly. I just wanna know if you can feel my. I keep coming with some real fly. Don't tripping on in the shade. What's up? What's up? It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son, it's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Well, giving you my detail as I'm articulating. This is articulating. Right. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn all the notifications on so you can get all the new content when I post them. I just came here to give you a telescopic and microscopic view from the lens of hip-hop, close up and far away. Right, and I hope y'all can appreciate how I break things down, because some things need a little bit more attention, some things need a little bit more detail. Right, and the rap battle that's been going on needs a little bit more detail because we're stuck trying to figure out who's going to respond next. I had a video and I'm gonna release the video. Probably y'all see that before y'all see this. But it took me so long to release it because now it will make sense for me to put these two joint videos together. But I had recorded it on Sunday and I didn't release it on Sunday. I planned to release it on Monday. And so many other diss tracks had dropped since then. So it was just hard for me to stay with it. Right? Stay in tuned. So, man, this battle kind of got out of hand, actually. It got out of hand, actually. And not from the perspective of saying some wild and crazy things. Just so many diss tracks, so many movers at play. It was kind of like hard to keep up with. And I did discover a couple of people that I wasn't in tune with, that I wasn't aware of. I did find some diamonds in the rough while listening and enjoying this battle, right? Because where we left off, and the last thing I said after a whole era was Vaughn, he would have been okay if he didn't respond, right? But after I released on Sunday, or after I did my video on Sunday, then My Town came out the very next day. Right? Then, no. Word to Your Mother. Word to Your Mother came out the very next day. Then we go My Town. Then we go Golden Eye. Then we go Crash Dummy. Oh. Then we go Ayo. We go Ayo. Then we go Crash Dummy. Then we get those other two tracks by Daylyt. Then we get to end the credits. So, and then we gotta think about Kai Cash. Kai Cash, he was somebody that really grabbed my attention during this battle, just during this back and forth. Right, so Kai Cash, salute Kai Cash. I like what he did. I like the song that he put out after the battle as well. So, I mean, there was a lot to keep up with. As you can see, I can't even tell you which one came out in what order because there were so many diss tracks coming out. So do I have a list of the order? No, but I'm just going off of memory. And I kind of want to break down Joey a little bit better, because when we look at this, you know, this battle, this back and forth between Joey and a lot of West Coast artists, I know people don't want it to be East Coast, West Coast versus East Coast. I know people don't want to see the Biggie and Pac resurrected. I know that they don't want to see that type of violence, that type of death. And these are no artists that nobody's going to be willing to die over anyways. Right? So let's just keep that there. This was West Coast versus East Coast. This was the Mecca, the traditional, the classic boom bap. This was the East Coast versus the West Coast, the G-Funk. Right? That West Coast sound that we're familiar with. This was that. And for people to try to minimize or marginalize the competition and the back and forth between the coast. I get that you want to preserve the non-violence. I get that you want to preserve the intelligence of our people and not wanting them to put themselves in harm's way because of the title of the East versus West. I get that, but you'll be doing a disservice when it comes to the regional ability of both coasts, because we've championed bringing that regional sound back, because that's what was missing in hip hop. Everybody was trying to sound like the South. You got Roddy Ricch, he sounds like he's from Atlanta. You got Ace Boogie with the hoodie, he sounds like he's from Atlanta. Right? Besides the New York drill that caught a wave for a little bit. Right? You know, and this wave that Kendrick Lamar is ushering in with these West Coast sounds, and all these West Coast artists are riding on the bandwagon. Of course they're going to respond. Of course they're going to hit back, because Kendrick put the spotlight on them. And even this battle is continued to spread a spotlight on Vaughn, Daylyt, Reason, everything that's going on, DJ Head. Right? So I get that you're timid in your approach to not delivering your honest opinion. I get that you're biased. Right? And you can say what you want to say, but just admit that you're biased. But don't get on these podcasts being delusional. We know that Joey won. Although this was a lightweight battle, we know that Joey won. Although he was handicapped going against 1 versus 2, we know that Joey won because he really ignored the other guys. He only really paid attention to one guy, but there were other guys, quote unquote, henchmen, trying to be on the aggressiveness before he could get to the boss. We know he wanted Kendrick. We know he wanted to spar with the person who people are considering one of, if not the GOAT of hip hop. And not just right now, but throughout the time frame. And that's one thing that we got to understand. That's one thing that we got to realize. Right? And I feel like in order for that traditional sound of hip hop to return to prominence, right? That foundation to be uplifted and rejoiced upon, right? Joey had to show up. Joey had to make his self known, his love, right? His representation of Brooklyn, BK, of one of the 5 boroughs of New York City, just a kid from Westbrook, right? He had to make that known. And just like that regional sound from LA coming back, he was able to bring that back with the finals. He was able to bring that back with My Town, right? He was able to bring that back. So Joey won and the East Coast won, but LA still winning because they still have Kendrick Lamar. And that sound from LA, that regional sound, is not going anywhere. Right? People are really starting to adjust to it, to adapt to it. And it's not becoming just an acquired taste anymore. People are starting to take a liking to it. But I learned that don't like the West Coast, and I'm fine with it. I push the line with it. Like, that's when that all started. When Kendrick said, what I learned that is most people don't like the West Coast, and I'm fine with it. I push the line with it. Right? He foreshadowed a lot of things to come. And approaching Gen X with this West Coast sound. And now you got everybody from the West Coast saying people don't rock with West Coast music. And people from the West Coast like West Coast music because they're familiar with it. Right? Same way people from West Coast might not love the boom bap of the East Coast of New York. Same way New York might not love the Southern, the slow down, slang from Texas, from Atlanta. Like, it is what it is. Y'all people been complaining about people don't like the West Coast music. It's a regional sound. Why is everybody supposed to like it? Like, it's going to break through if it's potent enough. And if it's not, then it's going to be where it's at. And GNX showed that it was potent enough to break through some of the mainstream barriers. Kendrick did that. Not any of these other henchmen from the West Coast. But now that he's ushered in that sound, now La Russell, now Ray Vaughn, now people from AZ Shike, now people got a chance to float on those type of beats, and there be more awareness to them nationally, right? And even worldwide. So, god damn, the West Coast dig licking. And it ain't even dig licking, it's just, come on fam. Like, we have to be fair. We have to be honest. Like, when Kendrick won this battle, everybody from the West was saying that Kendrick was the winner. Now that Joey wins the battle and represents the East Coast, don't want to give him the credit that he deserves? What type of real men move like that? And I'm not talking about Punch. I'm not talking about Top. I'm not talking about DJ Head. I'm just speaking in general. Like, you got to be fair across the board if this is for hip hop. And if you still want the West Coast to shine, you got to share that spotlight with the East Coast, because when the East and West Coast were at their peak and at their most prominent is when they were shining together. When you had Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Tupac, then you had Biggie Smalls, Bad Boy, LL Cool J, right? Method Man, Redman, Jay-Z, Ja Rule, DMX, like. And I feel like the East Coast just has to figure out a way to make a hit using their sound. Right? Because that's really the difference between all the coast and what the East Coast is doing right now. And I think that's the prophecy. I think that's the challenge for Joey. Right? Because when we speak about what Joey did on the finals and how he strategically dropped My Town right after Daylyt, and I don't, so word to you, yeah, he strategically dropped My Town right after Daylyt. Then Daylyt came with AO, and then he dropped Crash Dummy to seal the deal. And I feel like Daylyt was right there with Joey until AO, until he got a little bit too intricate. He talked a little bit too outside of, over people's heads than he needed to. And the punchlines weren't landing like Joey's punchlines were landing. Right? When we talk about GoldenEye, and I do agree with Elliott Wilson. I do agree that Ray Vaughn did underestimate Joey. I don't think that we thought, and I underestimated Joey. And I feel like Joey played possum. I feel like with Sorry Not Sorry, Pardon Me, I think he played possum. Really wanted to bring him out because he never responded to nobody directly until the Red Bull Cypher. I mean, he played possum like Kendrick Lamar. We didn't know he had that many tracks lined up. We didn't know what he had in the tuck. That's the thing. People are not speaking on the strategy of Joey Badass. We're just speaking about the songs and how the punchlines landed how they landed. But if you think about how Joey was able to respond you know, through battling Vaughn, through battling Daylyt, and how quick he was able to respond, and the sharpness and the wittiness and the strength of his punchlines and raps. Like, I felt like that's not something you just did in 24 hours. I feel like that was a skeleton somewhere right there that you tapped into, right? I feel like he was prepared and he used Kendrick's strategy from the battle with Drake the same way, right? Because the ball was in his court. Why the ball was in his court is because he was the bigger artist. The same way the ball is in Kendrick's court when it comes to Joey Badass. So Kendrick will have the advantage in strategy if he plays his cards right. Drake was the bigger artist than Kendrick, but Drake got out strategized because he underestimated Kendrick. I don't think Joey underestimated the hunger and the thirst for the guys that accompany TDE, like Vaughn or Daylyt. He's talked about how the hunger has become thirst. I don't think he lacked any concentration and focus with this. He knew how high the stakes were. And the stakes are very high, and he's coming out looking like a king. He's coming out looking like a champion. He's coming out looking like a black man that resembles me. Dark skin, smooth, player, protective of his woman, Soraya. Right? You talking about a pregnant woman and you got a daughter. Like, that was the thing that people were saying about the Kendrick beef and Drake beef. They both were disintegrating or degrading women. They both were degrading women to send shots at one another. Right? And of course there were some homophobic type of dissing on this music, on these diss tracks, but I felt like Joey, he kept it even more PC, because even like they brought up his woman, he still kept it PC. He still kept it cool, calm, and collective. He still kept it clean, because he know how big the brand is going to be if he was able to do that and persevere. Like, what's next? What's next? We got to talk about the winner. Like, Joey, album before August 30th. That's what he spoke about. And that's what I'm ready for. And when we talk about Joey Badass, and he's leading the forefront of New York and bringing that traditional sound back to the forefront the same way Kendrick did with GNX. No, Joey's not as big as Kendrick, but Joey has a leg up now. He has full head of steam. He has some momentum. So everything, and I wish, to be honest, and let me not say I wish, but if Puff was free and he was able to work with Joey Badass like we seen them work in the past, I think Puff could help produce him to an East Coast hit. You know, we gotta get somebody like Swiss Beats, right? We gotta get somebody like Just Blaze. We gotta get somebody that's going to, and although Joey has his own producer from Pro Era, Kurt, that's what I heard the name was, I can't remember the last name. I feel like if he can get some of these heavy hitters to lend him some beats, lend him some production, and try to help him come out with a hit, I think that will be beneficial for him and the sound of New York and the mainstream that it needs going forward. And Vaughn, he won too. Vaughn won too because his album was out. He calls it a mixtape, but it's an album to me. His album was out, and this was on the heels of the album release and right before the album released. So this definitely got him some attention, and I'm sure I listened to more of his songs when the beef was, you know, at its thickest. Daylyt, you know, what Daylyt showed us in this battle, although he didn't win the battle per se, he showed us he was the best rapper. He showed us when he told that story about 1999 when he was 14 and counted all the way down to 1. Right, when he told that story about being shot by a man named Joe and him going against Joey Badass and Ayo. Like, it was it Ayo or Word to Your Mother? But I feel like his intricateness, his detail within his raps really showed us that he's a little bit more elite than Joey. But just like a difference between a battle rapper and a hit maker, a song maker is knowing how to shoot the mid range. And it's funny because Daylyt lost this battle by trying to shoot from half court, and he should have shot from mid range, and he could have carried on with some heat. And I feel like he could have had a little bit more bars that would have hit. But although he didn't win, this showed his lyrical ability and capability. And then when we look at songs like Pie that he did with J. Cole, then we look at songs like Play the Collard Greens that he did with J. Cole, I think this positions him to do more musically and song making wise with other peoples and partners, and this helps elevate him. So that is the end credits to me of this beef. I feel like Vaughn wins, Daylyt wins, but Joey gets the grand prize, right? They all get a medal. So I don't see Joey Badass as the only winner. I see them on the podium, and I see Joey getting the first place medal. I see Vaughn getting the second place medal. And to be honest, I'll take that back. I see Daylyt getting the second place medal because you got to go to Crash Out Heritage and you got to go to Impossible Patties. But if we're going to be honest, I did enjoy Daylyt's disses all the way up before the Red Bull Cypher. You know, I feel like Vaughn probably had the second best song with Whole Era. I still think The Finals is Joey's best song because he was by himself. I still think Finals is Joey's best song. It had that dip set. It came right with that New York feel and that New York tone and sound. I still feel like The Finals was his best song. I feel like Whole Era was probably the best song, if not the second best song in this beef. But Daylyt, I feel when we talk about the quantity, like, then I think that gives him the slight edge over Vaughn. But I do think Vaughn wins too. So Vaughn third place, Daylyt second, Joey first. But hip hop isn't number one right now. So this is big. This is big because, you know, the South, and I'm in the South, Texas, right? We've had our time for under the sun for a very long time, and this shifts everything back from the South to the West and East Coast like it was, you know, back in the day when hip hop was at its peak, at its pinnacle. And I think this is just going to uplift it even more. I think the South will have to dig a little bit deeper. And I think we can with JID right around the corner to release something on August 8th. I believe like the South got something to say still, but I'd like it for hip hop because I feel like we're returning back to our regional nature when it comes to different sounds, different flows, different production. And although like some, you know, regional songs or music aren't as digestible to people on the opposite ends of those coast, I feel like to have that, it raises the bar, it raises, you know, awareness in hip hop, and it just makes everybody a little bit more exciting, right? It differentiates the cultures and doesn't just have us all lumped in and grouped in into the same thing. But Fredo Bang, The Big Bang, man, that was a good album. That was a good album. I'm gonna talk on this album. Like, he still gave me that Louisiana bop throughout some of this album, but production wise, it just kind of matched his energy. He matched the production. I believe it was a good marriage, good chemistry. The production wasn't crazy to where I'm like, damn, where is he getting this beat? Because the production didn't stand out over the actual song making, and the song making didn't, overshadow the production. So I think Fredo really was able to give us a little bit more of himself, able to get a little bit more vulnerable, how he spoke on women, the love songs that he gave us, the girl songs he gave us toward the end, Baby Mama, like just speaking on women, highlighting Megan, highlighting Cardi B, highlighting Glorilla, just highlighting like those women in rap that we all look at for motivation, inspiration, and just look at them in awe because of their beauty and their willingness to, persevere throughout their trials and tribulations. I believe Fredo Bang gave them their flowers as he was talking about women and the love songs, quote unquote, that he was making. And just, the passion is still there. Like his melodic efforts, his lyrical efforts, the passion is still there. I still hear him that he wants to get better. I still hear that he wants to triumph, even higher than where he's been able to reach. So I see the hunger and how he's released another album with somebody else this year. I didn't really jam that, but this album is gonna make me go back to that. So like Fredo, he gives you quality. He gives you quality street music, not too much trapping, not too much emo, but just kind of enough. Like his substance is so versatile, like in all, corners of the street culture. He kind of dabbles in all of it when it comes to women, when it comes to money, cars, clothes, when it comes to the drugs, when it comes to the drill, when it comes to just, emotions that you have within that need to be expressed from somebody living that type of lifestyle. I believe that Fredo Bang did us a great service by releasing The Big Bang. And I don't want to forget about all the albums of the year. And so I believe this Fredo is an 8. I say this Fredo is an 8. And like I said, going back to the albums of the year, I don't want to forget about Deontay Hitchcock. I don't want to forget about Belly Gang Cushington. I don't want to forget about Ray Vaughn. I don't want to forget about Saba and No ID from the collection of Saba and No ID. I don't want to forget about these other guys that need to be highlighted that really gave us good music and good albums this year. And I believe Fredo is one of those independent artists that might not get enough recognition, but he's right in the mix. And we still can't forget about Lil Baby, Wham, Dirt, Deep Thoughts, Life is Beautiful, 2 Chainz. We still gonna talk about them albums, but man, these are the albums of the year. Right now, we're going to that half-year mark. And so I'm ready to put the list together. I'm ready to put that halfway mark down. So y'all just tune in with me. Appreciate y'all for listening. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. It's your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your nephew, your friend, but I can't be your son, it's your kinfolk, William Jewell. Well, giving you my detail as I articulate. This is articulating. Rap, rap, rap.